Typhoon Ragasa, predicted to be the world's strongest tropical storm of 2025, has struck southern China with incredible destructive power. The storm formed in the western Pacific Ocean in mid-September and quickly developed into a Category 5 super typhoon, with winds reaching over 270 kilometers per hour. After striking the Philippines and Taiwan, Ragasa moved towards mainland China, making landfall in Yangjiang City, Guangdong Province on Wednesday, September 24, 2025. The storm's arrival marked the beginning of a series of events that changed the face of China's southern coast in a matter of hours. The Chinese government immediately issued the highest emergency alert. More than 2 million residents were evacuated from areas predicted to be directly affected, including major cities such as Shenzhen, Guangzhou, Foshan, Dongguan, and Zhanjiang. Shenzhen city itself ordered the evacuation of 400,000 residents living in flood and landslide-prone areas. Across Guangdong Province, schools, factories, and public transportation were suspended. Airports and ports were closed, and high-speed rail services were canceled. The government also sent tens of thousands of tents, folding beds, lighting equipment, and rescue supplies to evacuation centers. When Ragasa made landfall, strong winds and torrential rain immediately paralyzed activity in various cities. In Yangjiang, fallen trees blocked roads, roofs were blown off, and power lines were cut to more than 500,000 homes. In Zhanjiang, chest-deep floodwaters inundated markets and residential areas, forcing residents to evacuate to higher ground. Major rivers like the Xijiang overflowed their banks, increasing the risk of dam failures and flash floods. Chinese maritime authorities issued a red tide warning, predicting sea levels of up to 2.8 meters in parts of Guangdong. In Macau, a casino hub adjacent to Hong Kong, gambling operations were suspended, hotels shuttered their doors, and hundreds of residents sought shelter in evacuation centers. The city, normally bustling with tourists and economic activity, turned into a ghost town overnight. The Hong Kong Observatory reported that Ragasa was moving about 100 kilometers south of the country's economic center, with maximum sustained winds of 195 kilometers per hour. The storm is expected to continue moving west or northwest at about 22 kilometers per hour. In Taiwan, Ragasa's impact was devastating. Heavy rains caused dams in Hualien County to overflow, destroying bridges and turning streets into raging rivers. At least 14 people were killed, and 124 others remain missing. In Guangfu City, muddy water swept away vehicles and household items. A postman named C described the crash as like a tsunami. He was forced to evacuate to the second floor of the post office, and when he returned home, his car and belongings had been swept away. In the Philippines, Ragasa caused widespread death and destruction in northern Luzon. More than 25,000 people were evacuated to emergency shelters, and nearly 700,000 were directly affected. Landslides and flash floods destroyed homes and critical infrastructure. An elderly man was killed by a rock slide, and thousands of residents lost access to clean water and electricity. Meteorologists and climate scientists warn that storms like Ragasa will become more frequent due to global warming. Benjamin Horton, Dean of the School of Energy and Environment at the City University of Hong Kong, stated that the extreme weather Hong Kong experienced this summer was just a taste of what's to come. He emphasized that climate change has increased sea surface temperatures, which in turn increases the intensity of tropical cyclones. Ragasa is a visible symbol of the increasingly pressing climate threat. Amidst the chaos, communities demonstrated remarkable resilience. In Shenzhen, a resident surnamed Liang said that despite living on a high floor and remaining relatively safe, she still took her children outside to experience the rainstorm while remaining cautious. In Hong Kong, long lines formed at supermarkets as residents stocked up on food and essentials. Products like milk and vegetables sold out within hours, and prices soared. The Chinese and Hong Kong governments continued to monitor Ragasa closely and warned that the risk of tidal flooding remained high, especially in low-lying coastal areas. Although the storm warning was lowered from level 8 to level 3 on Wednesday afternoon, the threat has not completely passed. In some areas, the ground remains saturated and at risk of landslides, while the city's drainage system has not yet fully recovered. Typhoon Ragasa, a Category 5 tropical storm predicted to be the world's strongest storm of 2025, not only devastated mainland China but also had a major impact on Hong Kong, a global city known for its skyscrapers, busiest port, and advanced transportation system. Although Ragasa did not make direct landfall, it moved close enough, about 100 kilometers south of the city center, to cause significant disruption and force the government and residents to take emergency measures. The Hong Kong government activated Storm Signal Number 10, the highest level in the local weather warning system, on the evening of September 23, 2025. This is a rarely used signal and is only issued when a tropical storm is expected to bring destructive winds that could endanger life and property. Activation of this signal immediately triggered the closure of schools, government offices, businesses, and public transportation services. The MTR Underground remained in limited operation, but bus and ferry services were suspended completely. Gasps of winds up to 195 kilometers per hour battered the city, uprooting trees, shattering windows, and blowing billboards. In coastal areas such as Tai Pacao, Stanley, and Sai Kung, waves rose up to 3.7 meters, inundating streets and damaging buildings. Videos circulating on social media showed seawater crashing into the lobby of the Fullerton Hotel on Hong Kong Island, shattering glass doors and flooding the ground floor. In the Hung Fa Chen area, seawater entered apartments and shops, forcing residents to evacuate to upper floors. More than 700 flights were canceled at Hong Kong International Airport, including both international and regional flights. Thousands of passengers were stranded, and major airlines such as Cathay Pacific and Hong Kong Airlines temporarily suspended operations. The airport served as an emergency shelter for some passengers unable to return home. The government opened more than 50 evacuation centers, accommodating nearly 900 residents from various districts. Most were elderly people, children, and residents living in older buildings or coastal areas. In the Kowloon district, long lines were seen at supermarkets and grocery stores. Residents stocked up on food, drinking water, and batteries. Products like milk, bread, and vegetables sold out quickly, and prices soared. At least 90 people were reported injured, mostly from falling trees, broken glass, or slipping during evacuations. Queen Mary and Pamela Yud hospitals received a surge of patients quickly. Medical teams worked extra hard to treat minor to serious injuries, and ambulances were deployed to vulnerable areas. Economic losses were initially estimated at 2.5 billion Hong Kong dollars, encompassing property damage, business disruption, and logistics cancellations. The Hong Kong Stock Exchange suspended trading, and major companies such as HSBC, Tencent, and Jardine Matheson activated emergency protocols. Import and export activities at the Port of Victoria were disrupted, impacting regional supply chains. The Hong Kong Observatory recorded that Ragasa was the most powerful storm to approach the region since Typhoon Mangkhut in 2018. Meteorologists stated that rising ocean temperatures due to climate change have intensified tropical storms. Benjamin Horton, Dean of the School of Energy and Environment at the City University of Hong Kong, said that extreme weather events like this will become more frequent and more dangerous in the future. He emphasized the importance of investing in storm-resistant infrastructure and more sophisticated early warning systems. Amid the chaos, the solidarity of Hong Kong residents was evident. Local volunteer groups like Impact HK and Food Angel distributed food and emergency supplies to affected residents. In the Sham Shui district, residents helped each other clear debris and repair homes. On social media, the hashtag Hong Kong Strong trended, demonstrating the collective spirit of recovery from disaster. Typhoon Ragasa has become a stark symbol of the growing threat of extreme weather in the era of climate change. As a Category 5 tropical storm with winds reaching 270 kilometers per hour, Ragasa struck southern China and Hong Kong with destructive power unseen in recent years. Its impacts were not only physical, but also social, economic, psychological, and systemic. Regionally, Ragasa also caused extensive damage in Taiwan and the Philippines. In Taiwan, dam failures and flash floods killed dozens and left hundreds missing. In the Philippines, thousands of homes were damaged and tens of thousands of people were displaced. This storm demonstrated that impacts are not limited to a single country, but rather cross borders and systems. It tested regional coordination in disaster management and demonstrated the need for cross-border cooperation in addressing climate threats. From a systemic perspective, Ragasa exposed structural vulnerabilities in coastal East Asia. Large cities with modern infrastructure and global economies were not fully prepared for extreme storms. Drainage systems, early warning systems, and evacuation logistics still had gaps. Ragasa became a real test of disaster preparedness and the adaptive capacity of local governments. It forced a re-evaluation of city planning, building design, and social protection systems. Climate threats were a major focus in post-storm reflections. Scientists stated that global warming has increased sea surface temperatures, amplifying the intensity of tropical storms like Ragasa. Extreme weather will become more frequent, stronger, and more unpredictable. Cities like Hong Kong, Shenzhen, and Guangzhou must invest in storm-resistant infrastructure, advanced technology-based warning systems, and public education on risk mitigation. Without serious climate adaptation, storms like Ragasa could become the new norm, not the exception. The social and psychological impacts also cannot be ignored. Fear, loss, and uncertainty are part of the collective experience of residents. The trauma of sudden evacuations, loss of shelter, and disruption of daily life will take a long time to recover. However, social solidarity, volunteers, and local communities demonstrate that resilience is not just about technology, but also about humanity. Acts of mutual aid, sharing food, and clearing debris are evidence that communities can bounce back together. Typhoon Ragasa also presents an opportunity for policy reform. The government can use this momentum to strengthen disaster mitigation systems, update building regulations, and improve interagency coordination. Ragasa could be a turning point towards sustainable and resilient development if the lessons from this disaster are truly learned. Urban planning must consider extreme climate scenarios, and social systems must be able to respond quickly and inclusively. In the long term, Ragasa serves as a reminder that storms are not just about wind and rain, but about people, systems, and the future. It forces us to re-examine systems we consider resilient and reminds us that nature always has a way of testing our limits. From destruction emerges an opportunity to rebuild more wisely, more resiliently, and more humanely. Ragasa teaches us that resilience is not just about survival, but also about transformation. Typhoon Ragasa was not only a meteorological disaster, but also a systemic test of preparedness, infrastructure, and social solidarity. It exposed the vulnerability of large cities to extreme weather and challenged governments and communities to strengthen mitigation and adaptation systems. From mass evacuations to economic shutdowns, from coastal flooding to psychological trauma, Ragasa left a mark that will be remembered in the history of East Asian disasters.